All right, guys, so there's a large call for E46 reliability video. All the E46 guys were calling me out when I said I didn't have E46. I do have E46, but it's a parts E46. But probably do good enough for this video, I would say. It's like a good place to get stung by a wasp or bit by a snake or by a mouse, I would say. So what's the situation? We'll start off with the main thing first. I see that window's cracked down too. The very main thing when buying an E46 is the subframe. It makes the car unusable. The subframe likes to bust out where the rear subframe bolts to the unibody. It'll break out from around the unibody and crack the unibody. 99 to 2001 were the worst. They somewhat fixed it up until 2004, 2001, 2004, 2002, 2004. And then they fixed it a little more in 05. Maybe it's 04 or 05. So basically the newer E46 you get, the less chance there is having that. If the car is a manual, if it's a stick shift, it's going to have a lot more chance of having that than an automatic car. So that's the biggest thing. I would say the next thing, I look at the state of this thing, just been sitting here, it's getting like rusty and weird. The door handles and these aren't too bad. They're not so good, but they're not too bad. They do like to break. We'll have to watch for, whew, scaring me. Have to watch for wasp here. So when I open that door, you've seen what happened. All that water is pulled up along here. And that usually means that the door panel is leaking. So when you take the panel off, it's like in the BMW, you have a foam panel that goes behind that glues to that. This one's not glued to it, and all the water is puddling up right here. Nobody home? Okay. And that'll eventually make it run over the sill into the carpet and that business. So they have that problem. Most BMWs have that. Also, the sunroof, E46 is especially bad about sunroof issues. And the sunroof drains, like any other ones, run through the A pillars and down to the C pillars. These are really bad about the front ones just popping off. Once they pop off on the E46 and the passenger side, the fuse box is up behind the glove box. And also the body control modules in the kick panel. I believe it was in the kick panel on this one. Water runs down the pillar and runs into the electronics and ruins stuff. Especially the GM5 module, which is that sits under the glove box. Usually that has relays in it, and that water runs down on that and runs all that pretty quick. Other than that, control arms, these have a little different control arm setup than any other BMW. These have the one main control arm that has two ball joints made onto it. It goes back to a lollipop bushing, what they call it. Usually that lollipop bushing likes to go out and the ball joints like to go out, but they're pretty inexpensive to replace that. Next up, if I could even get the hood up, I'm gonna get two hands on it. We have a M52 TU. So 99 and 2000 have the M52 TU. Then the 2001 and up have M54. It's basically the same engine. It's just the M52 TU is the predecessor to the M54. As you can see, this particular one has an electric fan on the inside because it's a manual car instead of a clutch fan. That's always an upgrade that has no fan in the front. That's not really prone to go out. And of course, like any other car, the intake boots like to get rotten. This actually has a good disc there. Probably need to pull that off. Need to shelve a lot of these parts off this car. The disc flap likes to break like any other M54. And of course, on these cars, the reservoir likes to split on the bottom, and you must get a OEM reservoir or a legit name brand, or it's impossible to put on. Just like any other M54, if you overheat it, the head bolts like to strip the thread in the block, which is what the problem with this one is, why I didn't fix it. And yeah, aftermarket headlights in this one, but if you have factory headlights, it probably look just like that. All cloudy and all jacked up. And just like any other M54, the PCV or CCV, which usually goes from there down to there, likes to rupture, cause vacuum leaks, misfires, and so on. You can see it has the exhaust cam sensor right here. Those will go bad after a certain amount of time. And same with the intake sensor and the crankshaft sensor. Usually around 150,000 miles, you'll have failures of all those. Now, this car does not have issues with the ABS module like the E39 has. They've moved that back to this compartment over here, where it's very far away from the exhaust manifold, so it does not break down the electronics like they do. And just like any other BMW, the reservoir and power steering lines like to go out on these, or like to start leaking, I should say. Some of the worst things on this one are the Weibo and the dry shaft carrier bearing also like to fail, usually around 150K. And then probably what a lot of people don't realize on these E46s is on the rear, the wheel bearings like to go out, and the CV axle loves to seize in the hub on these. When it seizes in the hub, you have to replace the whole trailing arm. And then there's many different types, like a 323 and 325 is different than a 328. The splines are different than a 330, and an M3 is different. There's like 4 different types of it. And then all your swing arms from your 2-door to 4 doors are different. So getting parts for the chassis of this is a little bit tricky. Same way with the mirrors, same way with everything. 2 to 4 doors is totally different. I think even the windshield's different. And this car actually does have the M-Sport seats, but these are dyed. So that was another deciding factor in not fixing this car. It just wasn't really worth it. Then the sport steering wheel. And I think this car had 150K on it, 155K. 5-speed transmission. So it has some good parts in it. It's just, I elected not to fix it. And then of course the starter on these also like to go out like any other M54. The XI models of these cars, the 4-wheel drive models, likes to blow up the front diff, explode the front diff, and no given reason. So there is a few drawbacks. They do make this an all-wheel drive. They do make these in wagons. They do make these in all-wheel drive wagons, and so forth. Now, one thing to remember, E46 is the cheapest BMW right now as far as resale value. You could buy one of these for $1,000 all day long. A super crazy nice like 330i might go as far as $3,000. I'm sure people want more, but that's about the going rate for a really nice one. Used to be E36 was the cheapest one. Now these are the cheapest ones. My opinion of these, this will piss off a lot of you guys. I like the E39 a lot better than E46s. And a lot of that to do is with the subframe issue. The subframe issue for me is a deal breaker because it's not a good deal. Sometimes it's very hard to see if the subframe is ripped out. The last thing you want to be doing is buying a car, putting a bunch of money in it to fix it, and the subframe is all ripped on it. And you can weld plates in it. You got to take the gas tank out, the subframe out, weld these plates in, and that helps it for a little bit, and then it does it again. Then you have to go with bigger plates, and it's just not really something you want to get into. But there are good cars out there. Just be very cautious when you go to buy them. That is going to be it, guys, for the E46 reliability video. Hope you liked it. See you all very soon.